So we have a bit of an issue here. The issue is that the player can go into the store and purchase as many heavy packs from the store owner as he'd like, even though the store owner says that he can only purchase one or he can only carry one. Right? And the reason for that is because of our script here. All it checks for is if the player chose the by choice dialog choice, and if that's true and if they have enough money, then fire off the remote event. The script here is waiting for that remote event to fire off, and when it does, it's going to make the changes to the leader stats that reflect him buying a pack, right? A heavy pack. So what we need to add here is another condition saying and player dot leader stats dot has heavy pack dot value is equal to true. Okay, but we don't have this, so we need to add it. All right, and once he does in the beginning, so like let's take a look here. In the beginning, we'll have a has heavy pack, and we'll set it equal to false. And then as he plays, he might purchase it, and when he does purchase it, we're going to set it equal to true, right? And then we're going to save that value when the player exits the game. It's going to save this value up here. Okay. Oh, actually, I don't think this should be true. If and it's equal to false, actually, right? Okay. Yeah. So if it's equal to false, then let him if it's equal to false, let him purchase it. And once he does purchase it, then set it equal to true. Right? And then once it's true, don't let him purchase it again. Right. So this is the way that it will be set up. And but the problem with that is that if we add it to the player's leader stats folder, then that means when we play, it's going to be up here as one of the displayed values that the player is going to see constantly. But we don't want him to see that constantly, right? Or at least I don't want him to see the player to see that, whether he has it or he doesn't. All I want the player to know is that his max gold is going to go up, right? And so what can we do so that we can save the data, but we won't show it on the leader stats board? Well, what we can do is create a second folder, and we'll call this folder player stats. And in the player stats folder, we are going to save the has a heavy pack. Okay. And then when we go ahead and leave the game, then this folder is going to be saved right up in here, like whoa, right up in here. Okay. All right. And so let's go ahead and take a closer look at our leader stats script, and let's see about a couple of things we didn't notice earlier. Okay, when we go ahead and connect, what this code is going to do is it's going to create this folder setup for the player, right? Create a folder called leader stats, add all these objects to it and their values, and then it's going to try to get from the data store service using the player's user ID. Okay, so let's say the user ID is 1234, right? Well, it's gonna look in the Gold Rush store and look for a folder called 1234, the player's user ID. And once it does find it, it's gonna grab all this data and it's going to return it right here to leader stats data, and then we're going to use it to set the leader stats money, gold ore, and max gold ore. Right. So that's the way it works right now. And so we only have one folder right now. We just have this 123, this player user ID, right? But if we want, and that was fine because in our player we only had one folder too. We only had the leader stats folder with its values. But now if we're talking about adding a player stats folder with another value has heavy pack equal to false, then our setup here is not going to work correctly, right? What we need to do now is we need to create two folders for the player. We need to create one folder that's going to contain this data and another one that's going to contain the has heavy pack data, this one right here. Okay, and how can we do that? Well, what we can do is create a folder right here, right, using the player's ID, but we can call this one 1, 2, 3, 4, the user ID dash leader stats. And then over here, we can call this one the same player's ID and call it dash player stats. Okay, and that's what we're gonna do when we go ahead and add this value to it. And you know, this is worth the effort because this is not the only variable that we're going to store here in player stats. This is not the only value that we don't want the user to see, right? We're going to have more and more and more, like whether he has a horse or whether he has the caboose or the coach, right? Whether he has purchased a train ticket. And so these are all going to be things that we need to keep track of for the player, and we're going to store all of that data here in this folder. Okay, and so I just wanted to take this time to explain all of that before getting into how to code it.